We're ready to go.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Talking Chickens with M&M Exhibition Poultry, brought to you by Rogier's Poultry Supply, as always. And next Tuesday, next Thursday,
Yeah.
sorry, almost messed that up. Uh, Caitlin will actually be here from Rogier Poultry Supplies, and we'll talk about some of the stuff they have and what it's good for, and probably get into the menagerie that they hatch over there in Highland, Illinois, and we'll talk about the Elmo show coming up quickly, actually, next month. Really good show that they put on in Highland. We'll talk about that. But as for today, we have Mr. Jack Swanson. We had some
Hello.
people tell us that we need some young guys on here.
Yeah.
So guess what? You're the
For the
young
next
guy.
generation.
Yeah. The next generation, the next great generation. You got to put all that shit
What
in.
about that? Mm-mm.
So, but anyway, welcome, Jack. Matt and I've known Jack for quite a while. Excellent young coaching breeder. I know he doesn't feel as young as we think he is, but compared to us, he's pretty damn young. Uh, breeds large Cochins, breeds, well, we'll get into how many different color Bantams he has. He's had Old English, he's had moderns, he's had all kinds of stuff. He trains dogs. Uh, we just could call him Kirk Keene Jr. with the
Hmm.
dog training.
Trades master of none.
Yeah, well, you're in a good crowd here.
Yep.
Exactly.
So, anyway, Maddie, whatever you want to say, and then let's let Jack take it
Yeah.
away.
I think the only update I have is the Ivamec thing. I'm getting a lot of response on that. What I think it's good for is preventative uh, treatment of Merrick's. I don't think that it's ever going to cure something that's already got the symptoms. So AJ Dickinson down in Iowa had a white rock that we had been treating and ended up having to put it down. And that's pretty similar with what I had. I had one that was limping pretty bad. And although he got better and wasn't wasting away and dying, he never got any better. So I think we got to get it early and before it starts. Well, I think once it sets in, I think you're done. But so far with mine, I've got one that I thought had it, but I think it's just lame. So I think there's a difference between Merrick's and just being plain old lame. And she's limping around, but it's not straight out. So that's the only one I've had go yeah,
I've known a lot of people who just plain old lame, baby. They
plain
ain't
old
got no.
lame. Yeah. Yep, I don't think I can blame this on a disease. I think it's just lame. So that's it on that.
I've
I
had
did.
horses that way.
Yep. I the other thing is I've had. And it's nice that this is getting out there, but I had a ton of requests to expound on feather quality and breeding processes and things like that. So I think Mike and I are going to jump in on Friday maybe and just do one with us and kind of cover a couple things that we think will work on those two things because feather quality is something that I tell everybody that one you have to go read the damn standard and see what it says in there for your breed. You're never going to get that in a picture. You're never going to get that in a podcast. You have to almost see it and feel it to get it.
Feel it.
And so we'll try to cover some things to look on there because I know there's some people, hard feather birds have a different kind of feather quality. Soft feather birds are different from medium, what I call rocks, Wyandottes, medium feather birds. So we'll try to cover that on Friday when I get back. I'm going to New York this week to judge some pigeons for a switch for Mr. Rick Hare at his county fair, Erie County Fair. And when we get back, we'll try to get that one wrapped up. And then next week's Caitlin. And then we've got several things going down the road. It's just trying to get them lined up. I know we want to get Jake Wilson on here and talk Welsh Harlequin ducks. Nate Reinish back to talk heavy geese. Um,
Neil.
yes,
Neil.
we've got to wait till he gets his work schedule. We wanted some Old English people because I've had that request, but we have Mr. Neil Mahaffey from North Carolina agreed to come on, and a guy we've known forever and a great Old English breeder, especially the blue color pattern. If anybody wants some tips on blues, Neil had some of the best blue Old English I ever seen. Still does, still raises some mighty fine blacks. and other colors over the years. But we want to get Neil on here and get his perspective. And we're going to get into shows next month. So we got a bunch of them in a row. I got White River I'm judging, and then we've got Moon City. I think there's one in Eaton, Ohio the next week, and the week after that's Greenville, first part of October. So we're going to be bing, bing, bing on shows. What we'd like to do is go live at some of these shows and maybe not put it on as a podcast, but add it to the YouTube and Spotify pages, just little outtakes of what happens. I'd like to get with a judge one time and go with him as he's judging a class, just so people that don't know what that entails will learn that and see what he's doing. I just got to get one that's willing and can clean the language up for 10 minutes and we'll do that. But that's all I got, I think, Mike.
All right. Yeah, I forgot about that. Well, I'm not judging the White River show, so we might see what happens there.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe
You might have
maybe
to
we
ride down with Louie and I.
Okay. So there's some big news that the American Bantam Association new standards, some have arrived at the office, correct? When did we
Yeah,
get this?
we have the minis in, and then she got a couple samples of the big one. And I look for her to have the big ones this week, and probably won't get the shipping until next week. It just depends on when they get done with them this week, but they'll be done. The ones I seen, I think I sent you some pictures.
Oh yeah, I got
Fantastic.
pictures.
I don't usually get too proud and puffed up about much shit anymore, but that's one I am because I've been on the standard committee for 25 years, maybe, or not really officially on it, but in one way or another, I've worked on them, mainly doing the editing part of it, which in my mind is the most difficult part of that process. And this book has been, thanks to Paul Monteith and the committee, has been thoroughly edited. Kim Munden's done a wonderful job with the pictures. They come out fantastic. Even the mini has pictures in it, so that's an added bonus. We normally don't print the pictures in the mini, but they missed that on the quote and they did it anyway, so we got them. So it'll and that's a good value for people that are cost conscious and trying to pinch penny and don't want to buy the big book. It's also easier to take with you. So Mike and I both carry that in our judges' pockets and as we're going along, so we can look stuff up. So I'm really looking forward to seeing that out and about, and you'll probably start seeing it at the fall shows. I know we're picking up Rogier's. Thanks to them, our number one vendor. We're picking up a load up probably in Bath to take to them, so they will have it sometime in September. So we're looking to get it out and get it going.
Yep. So we're basically right about when we scheduled. We figured they'd be out first couple of weeks of August, and by golly, they're going to be out first couple of weeks of August.
And the yearbook is, I look for it to go to the printer soon. So they were wrapping up a few things, loose ends. Oh, that's always trying to tie up the late advertisers and get some get the judges list straightened around and some couple things there. I think we had some starred wins we needed to fix, and so I think she's called for the last director's stuff today if you haven't got it in yet. So I look for that to go to print, and that'll probably be out next month. So
yep. So everything's rolling. Okay, now on to the young guys.
yeah,
Well, one guy, our special guest. So Jack, kind of give us a rundown. How'd you get started? What were your first, I guess, loves in the exhibition poultry, and just kind of how things started and how they goods and bads, whatever. But where you're at now.
Yeah. Well, Mike, Matt, thanks for having me. My name's Jack Swanson. I live in Canton, Georgia, which is just north of Atlanta. Born and raised here. Some friends of mine, their grandfather was big into Old English. He had silver duck wings bantam. His name was Donald Cagle. We called him Poot.
I remember him.
Yeah, he was.
I do too. I didn't know it was Poot, but I mean, from where you're from, I can. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, his name was Donald Cagle. He had a good friend of his, and his name's left my mind, but he was also big in Old English. They were neighbors just down the road. But anyway, by the time I knew him as a toddler, he had kind of gotten out of showing, but he was still very much into raising Old English. He had silver duck wings, some Creoles and blacks, and just odd and end things here and there. But that was my original fascination, was going down to his old chicken house, which was his parents' original broiler house built in the 1930s during the Depression. But he had remodeled it into a Old English menagerie. He was a carpenter by trade, so he had built all these really, really nice sliding door coops and runs, and he could slap something together in no time. But that was my original fascination, was with poultry, was going over there to his place and the endless rows of Old English. Fast forward years later, as I got older, in and out of Old English, neighbors' dogs killing them and that sort of thing. Got into show rabbits for a little while, Flemish Giants, and then horses and everything else.
Going from one extreme to the other.
Exactly. I ended up with Bantam Wyandottes of all things, and Bantam Brahmas. Got into Silkies for a little while. Just I was that kid. I'd go to a swap meeting. If I saw it and I liked it, it was coming home. To the point where my parents said, "All right, no, enough. You got to pick something. It's either the horses, the chickens, the rabbits, the goats. You got to pick." So I stuck with the chickens and the rabbits, and had the Wyandotte Bantams and the Light Brahma Bantams for a while, and then I found Cochins, and that stuck. I fell in love, got rid of everything else, and up until just a few years ago, that's all I had was Cochin Bantams and some large Cochins. But yeah, I've always been fascinated by poultry, the just turkeys, guineas.
Oop. I think he's froze.
I think we lose him.
I'm not sure yet. Probably momentary delay.
Yep, we'll get him back here.
Send him a little message time that we have a still, and he's quiet.
We have these technical difficulties from time to time.
Live and unedited.
Oh, there he went. So let me
There he went.
resend
So
it.
he'll be back. Relinking. You don't see many people born in New England with the nickname of Poop. I kind of figured he was from down there. I mean,
Yeah, that's a.
Where you from? I'm from Connecticut. What's your name, Poot? No, you're not.
We'll see if he can join back. I sent him a new link, but in the meantime, we can talk about something, I guess.
I don't know. I'm at a loss for words, as always. You know how shy and introverted I am.
There
he
think
is.
I got him back. Yeah, we're ready. There we go.
Sorry for the short commercial break.
Yeah,
where'd you go, Poop?
I don't know.
He didn't go take a poot. I hope he didn't go take a poot.
No, not that quick.
You're probably like
no,
me. You've got rural internet, so until Biden was supposed to fix all that, and here we are.
We saw how well that went. No, I've just been fascinated with poultry my as long as I can remember. Got serious about the Cochins, and here I am now. Had a little bit of this and that, and a whole lot of stuff that probably shouldn't have had, and sent on down the road. As of now, I've got blue, black and splash, Bantam Cochins, white, lemon blue, brown, red, barred. Got a few Colombians I'm playing with, modeled. I can't help myself when it comes to the small Cochins.
Yeah, you've got the projects.
Yeah, I see something I like and I have to have it and I have to work on it. I become kind of obsessed. guess you could say I'm OCD that way. The large Cochins, I just have some blacks, blues, and bards. The bard is become an obsession with both the bantam and large fowl. That's a easier said than done project. Maybe by the time I get some 10, 15 years on them, they might look like something. But so far, they have been a head scratcher.
It's always it's been a struggle since day one for me, and that's talking about '70s. So I think we talked at earlier podcasts, and I got some back from you, but the barred color pattern and the Cochin feather is a problem. It's I don't know that you can ever get it to like barred rock quality, because on barred rocks we'll allow that thinner feather to slide in there and make for better barring. But then, then they're all the time going back to whites to get that back. With Cochins, you can never get there, or if you do, you get a real thin, narrow. I always call them like a fly tie hackle. You get that real stringy hackle. Although they got good color, they just don't have good feather quality. So I know lots of people have tried over the years, and I was lucky enough to A.S. Gibbons from Marysville, Tennessee, was the originator. And the original cross was one of old Witt's blacks onto some of Ralph Sturgeon's barred bantams, and that's how he made them. Now, A.S. never went back to barred rocks. He always was a line breeder and bred from those birds up until the very end. He had very good color, I will say, the ones I remember, and I got the last. I know Scott Adams has some of his barred line still, and I got the last trio that he sold. I didn't like the type, so the first thing I did was cross out to other stuff. And Mike knows, God, we cross blacks, whites, blues, mottled, so we put a little bit of everything into them, just to try to get the type fixed in there and then bring the color back. But that's always been the dilemma. So I feel your pain. And the big ones, I know Sarah Batts has done a fairly decent job with some of the big ones color wise. I think she fights type issues too, and keeping the width of feather on her big ones. I've seen some nice ones, but they're just like, they come in bunches of one.
Yep. Yeah, the large fowl, I treat them like cuckoo. I mean, I try not to even worry about the barring, just keep the type and the color come later. Joe Haddon, he's got some pretty decent ones, especially pattern as far as consistency that I've seen. But yeah, the Bantams, it's just a back and forth nightmare of trying different things. I've got some of the Adams stuff that is original Gibbons, or what he acquired over the years. Yeah, it's more the smaller style that I guess you could call it. Scott calls it old school. I don't know what you would necessarily call it.
Retro is what I call it.
Yeah, that very
retro is retro / shitty type.
I refer to them as a toy. They're like a little toy. They're like little dolls. They're tiny. I put them next to my blacks, and it's a fraction of the bird, and not only just the bird, but the overall plumage.
And one of the problems with them that I've found over the years, so we talked with Don when he was on here, Don Schrader, the body type. So they don't have much of a body, so they're not very productive. So they don't lay well, they don't hatch well, none of that. And that was the reason for crossing back to blacks, whites. The good thing, white most of the time carries barred, almost in every breed. We found that out with we crossed years ago. Broiler breeders into barred rocks, and the broiler breeders actually were recessive for barred. So a white hides a little bit of everything, but a lot of times they hide barred. So you can't really mess them up. It's just everybody wants to do those crosses, but they don't realize it's a 4 or 5 generation hick. And if you don't want to put that kind of a commitment in it, which most people don't, most people that I've found over the years that had bards, or it's like that other color, like they've got 8 colors and they want to raise 8 or 10 of them. And it's not a color variety. You can raise 8 or 10 chicks. And I didn't have a lot of luck this year because I fought the egg eating thing at first. And then I finally got that rectified, and then they quit laying. And then I couldn't even AI the male. He wasn't giving anything. So now they're all 3 running together, and I noticed they're picked up a little bit, and I kind of plucked them down. So if they start back laying, I'm kind of going to let them sit on the eggs and see what happens that way. But yeah, it was it brought back a lot of memories and frustrations that I had many years ago.
Yeah,
And I've
that's like
had them
my
half a
addiction.
dozen. I've had them a
Yeah,
half a dozen times over the years since then. Where did we get those one? Oh, Steve Garrison down
yeah,
in Georgia had, and those were some old Gibbons line birds. Steve sent me some ones, but they had some issues too.
yeah. That's
Um,
where mine originally came from.
okay, yeah, I bad for split wings.
Yep.
That line was, and I
Yeah,
know some
that
of
and inbred, severely
yeah.
inbred. I found that out the hard way.
Yep, and that's kind of the problem. These guys, if you don't, I think who was it? Mike that was talking about the families last week. Troy, I think maybe the having several different families, and that's how you have to do it if you're going to inbreed tight. You've got to
Yep,
keep enough diversity there.
yep.
And again, nobody wants to keep that many birds. So I mean, who wants 100 barred Cochins? It's they want
Me.
3 or 4 just to look at. Yeah,
Besides
it's a
you.
project. It's a project. I wish you luck, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hope I live long enough to see them.
Yeah, productivity. That if they would be productive, I have the space to grow them. But every year there's some sort of issue, whether it be just the hens don't produce, the males are late to become fertile. They're one of those varieties that they're just contrary. And then once you get them on the ground, keeping them alive is a whole other story. They're just weak, and you try to explain that to people that want to work on them and
Yep.
help. Well, you can help, but the cold hard truth is it's not easy,
Yep.
and a lot of them you're going to lose a lot of them for no
Yeah,
rhyme or reason.
I try to explain that to people with the Chanticleers as well because of the Merrick's thing with that. Everybody wants them, but I don't sell many of them for that reason because I know they're going to all die.
Yeah,
So that's you hate to do that to anybody, and then they get frustrated and quit. So
yeah,
I
but
feel
yeah,
your pain there, but I've seen Mike's got some of your brown reds, and I'm pretty impressed. I had hatched some chicks out for him down here, and there was a few brown reds in there. I
yeah,
was pretty impressed with those.
yeah. Those came from a friend of mine, actually friends with Jake Henderson down there in Tiffin. His name of Justin. I'm gonna draw a blank. I'm too young for this.
It don't get no
um,
better, I tell you that.
him and Jake Justin and Jake Justin Harper. Him and Jake were neighbors down there in Tiffin, and when he was getting out because he had to move for college, he told Jake, and Jake told me that he was selling, and I said I want those brown reds, and he already had a good start on them, and they've just done really really well. The males have some issues with the undercolor and the striping and all that, but that's just another one of
That's
those.
been there for ask Mike how long that's been there. So that's
Well, and everybody's told me, and I found out through experience that you try to take that away and you mess up the females. So, maybe that's a standard revision. I don't know.
the Craig Carroll had them, so there's a genetic component to that,
Yeah,
which is way above my pay grade.
yeah,
But
me
Craig
too.
Carroll had that down. He had brown red females and males that could win best of breed, and the males
Yeah,
were striped and they were the right color. And it's a shame he wasn't one that shared a lot of birds over the years, so I think they pretty much died out when he kind of got out of them. But I would think that everything that's out there is probably descending from that, or
yeah.
and I think they were created actually using a modeled. How'd they do that, Mike? There's an article somewhere
I
he
don't
wrote.
remember.
I've got it somewhere around here, but he actually the model was what separated out the brown red for him when he was doing. I think it was a partridge and a mottled. Somehow he got the brown red to separate out of there, and then he went that way. I'll have to look that article up and discuss it again. Actually it's in the Cochin or in the Wyandotte the rare
Oh,
variety
it's in there
report.
in the rare varieties.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
I don't know
I
where
used
I
that
got
article. Craig never wrote a
some
lot
of
of
them.
articles, but when he did, you wanted to pay attention, and that was how he said how he made his brown reds. So I'd have to get that out and read it. But
Yeah.
I know mottled was involved, and the models originally uh, were sports. Keith Legrand crossed blacks and whites and got these mottled sports, and Dale Dion took those over, and that's kind of how we got mottled. To this day. Matt McCam and a few others have really worked hard to get it truly modeled and not a black white splash.
Right.
But that model gene is what he needed to get the brown red. And I'll send you that article, Jack, because
Yeah.
that would probably help you because it was
Yeah.
his formula. And like I said, he didn't have that problem with striping that I remember. I remember him. He showed him at Columbus there several times, a big display of models and or brown reds, excuse me. And the females were just fantastic. They were laced like Old English and moderns.
Yeah, that's
And
one
just a
thing I found.
striking bird.
Yeah, the females have actually been fairly smooth. The males are more hit or miss. And it's one of those varieties you get out every color of the rainbow. Kind of like the bards, you got to hatch a bunch of them to get the handful out that are good for the
They're
next.
good.
So that's been the challenge there. But that makes sense with the modeling because of the undercolor of the males. I mean, you peel it back and it's white. I mean, it's from head to toe white.
Even his, they didn't have a real good dark surface color. They were kind of what I don't even know how to describe. It was kind of like a dull black, and maybe even a gray black. It wasn't black like a regular black. So they had a little different surface color. Didn't have sheen, but they did have good lacing and good striping.
Well, our brown reds, how I end up messing with, well, brown red's always been my favorite color, one of my favorite colors. I've always had them in Old English, going back to Randall Brown, uh, God, 1988 or 89, and the brown red Old English in it. And I really enjoy them. Uh, come to the conclusion that no lacing to no lacing and overlaced to overlaced and 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 whatever to whatever, you get the exact same percentage of really good laced birds, which is damn few. What bothers me most on the females, especially in the Cochins, but I mean even going to Old English and some strains of moderns, they're just too dark capped. That there's not enough. It's either I can't explain it. You just have to see it, but they shouldn't have that much black in their head. So that's always a
He's
problem
got
with
the
me.
secret to that when he said he had lemon blues.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
got
I
the
know.
secret to that.
So and I think some of you get that, but how ours got started is I crossed a black male, a roebuck black male with one of my best white females, with the whole intention of getting rid of that gold gene. Well, I mean, I didn't have anything come that was any brown red color, but out of that cross, I got nothing white, and I got almost like a birchin, and females and males, but they were either black or they were that birchiny color. And then the males are gorgeous type, meaner than hell, meaner than the whites. Well, that didn't last long. In fact, I give Sarah one. Oh, anyway, what our friends for. So, but they had wonderful type. So I took those females, and I had two or three females, and they were beautiful. I mean, you couldn't ask for better type coaching, and they weren't really birchen. They had just a little bit of a silver in their
They're
hackle.
shafted.
Shafted, yeah. So I got a brown red male from Dale, Dion, and I thought, well, that's good. Well, I think I hatched no males and two or three females, and I mean, of course, the females, they came with they were a sex link, right? And I has one really nice hen, a little dark, but not too bad in the head. It has lacing, and that's when I got with you to get a male bird for that. And I've got brown reds everywhere. Uh, I really, really like the males. I don't know how the breast lacing is going to be. Some of them are just too much color on them, but I'm going to let them get a little older to see. I've got a couple penned up, especially because everything else, they're just cracker jacks. And there's three or four females I really like. They're a little, to me, they're still a little bit dark in the head, but man, typed out of this world, and
Yep.
beautiful wide feathers and just as green as grass.
Yep.
So they're answer. So I'm with you on the brown reds. I think they're they're just a beautiful chicken when they're right.
Yep.
But they're really pretty when they're not right. But I mean, they're just a good looking bird with that, having that sheen green and then having the red gold. It's a beautiful thing.
Mhm.
Sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, I forgot
spoil
you
it.
even had the brown reds when we talked the other day. I forgot I brought you that mail.
Drive all the way to Abba Blabba to get a mail. Did you forget? I see where I am.
And if he's got one, he's going to have 100 soon. So that's usually the way it works up there.
Yep, usually.
Yeah, for a more rare variety, they've got excellent type. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they do.
It's because of what they used to make them. So
Yeah.
there wasn't any slouches when they first come out. Now Craig's line of brown reds were the good ones. There's some old school brown reds from the old AL Love days and stuff that were those brown reds and birchens were pretty crappy type wise. But Craig had good typed ones, and I think most of what's left is probably descended from that.
Yeah, they're nice. They're nice chickens.
And every once in a while, like Mike had, they'll sport out of everything else too. I know when we were doing the partridge crosses, we got all kinds of stuff. So silver pencil, brown reds, birchens, some things I don't even know what they were. Lots of buff
Skittles.
Columbians. Yeah,
Lots of Skittles.
Lots of Skittles.
Lots
So
of
it's
Skittles.
Mike actually made some out of those crosses that were salmon colored, which thank
Yeah, they
God
were really
somebody
nice.
a couple of them try. I think Sarah's was working on that because
Well,
I
I'll
think
tell you who had those. I mean, they were BBs basically, or Wheatons. Remember when Craig Carroll had those, and those
yeah,
females were just as good as any black female I've ever seen. I have no freaking clue how he did that.
Yeah, he had the formula for Wheaton. It's in that brown red line though, because that's where they come from. But he had the formula to make Wheatons, and he had some good Wheatons. But these were actually salmon colored. They were like a Faverolles.
Yeah,
Which,
yeah, they were Faverolles colored.
To me, that's not an appealing color on a Cochin, but to me, Faverolles aren't appealing. Period. So it wouldn't be.
Hey, I like Faverolles.
Yeah, I know you do. Salmon patties. I used to call them when he
Salmon patties.
had them.
I love salmon patties.
Yeah, I can eat them.
Yeah, I do too.
The chickens just never did nothing for me. Sorry, Leisha.
Yeah,
it's just me, Leisha.
It's one of those that they've got to be right.
Yeah, there's one time years ago, like Mary, remember Mary from Florida that always had the parrot sitting on her shoulder? She was a Faverolles lady, and she was standing in the aisle, and somebody asked me, "What's a Faverolles look like?" I said, "It looks like somebody threw up on a chicken." And I thought she was going to piss her pants when I said that because that was her thing. I can't remember her last name, Mary. She had red hair, and she always had a parrot on her shoulder, and that parrot would shit down her back, and she would have that parrot stuff all in that red hair and just flip me out. But yet she was a Faverolles lady. And I said, "That looked like somebody threw up on a chicken." There you go.
Wow, cruel, man. Cruel. I take that to my heart, man.
So
now, all right, so let's go on. Let's get off that shit and go on something else. What other colors we got?
White cross as well, but I got a lot of the brown red looking males, and then I got a bunch of blue looking females, and a bunch of stuff that just looked like a bunch of nothing. But I kept some of the brown red looking males, and they've been on the back burner ever since. But one of these days, I'm gonna throw them over my brown reds and just see what comes of it.
Doesn't hurt.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the lemon blues. Did your lemon blues come from any Ivy stuff when she had them?
Similar lines. Those were also derived from Justin Harper. I know he had gotten some from him and another lady out of Florida. I believe it was out of Florida, but they're lemon blues. The blue is brown and the lemon's orange. So they're a work in progress. They don't have near the type that the brown reds and other more rare varieties do. Like the Burgeons and silver blues, I have their type's beautiful. But the lemon blues,
the silver blues, that woman in I think Sarah ended up with them, but that woman in Ohio, that Nancy. I think she's either
Nancy
her.
Compton.
Yeah,
Yep.
Nancy Compton. She had the silver. Actually, Mike made one reserve a breed one time, and it wasn't recognized. But I guess we didn't realize it at the time. We had to go look it up. But somebody pointed it out to us. But that was as good a silver blue color as I think I ever seen,
Yep.
and good
Oh, and
type.
the type, her type was really, really good.
Her Birchen
I mean,
type was
especially
good.
what she was, what else was there? I mean, she was, I think the best was, I think, a black and then her. So
Yep.
it's really, really good bird. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
her
I
Birchens are
wanted.
Great color.
they tended to be a little overlaced, but they were
Yeah.
laced.
Yep. Yeah, I wanted Birchins, so I had a Jake would only give me a Birchin male, so I had to take a Birchin male and over my lemon splash females, and I made a bunch of silver blues, and they turned out really nice, and I've just had that going back and forth ever since. Um, it's funny, the Birchin females won't ever. I have never gotten them nearly to be have as much pattern as the silver blue females. Same
Well,
parents,
so if
but
you look at, we've always said this, if you look at moderns in Old English, why do silver blue and lemon blue moderns in Old English have better lacing than a
yep,
regular blue Old English? There's something with that dilution of that silver and gold gene in there that actually cleans up the color. And what I think it is the birchen and brown red carries that pattern gene that actually helps the lacing. Where the straight blues, because they keep putting regular blacks back into them, they keep watering down that lacing gene. So that's common in all breeds that they'll have better lemon blues and silver blues than they will regular blues, and they'll actually have good lacing. I mean, Samantha Wolf's moderns are laced like you drew it on them, and you
yeah,
can't get that on a regular blue modern.
yeah. I don't know what it is, but the Birchin females, their heads will be just from here back have nothing, or I should say here up have nothing. But as far as their chest, breast lacing and on the neck, it's all pretty decent. But it's just another one of my mini projects.
Yep. Well, you're
You're
never
gonna have to
bored.
live a long time.
Yeah,
You're never bored. You always have something to work on. That's for sure.
that's right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, the lemon blues, they're just a more narrow typed bird. And I mean, I've been focusing on that for several years now, just the type, and it's just been a back and forth. Get some really good ones, and then go back and get some not so good ones. But they're coming along. This year, I hatched a lot of them, more so than I have in years past. They actually produce pretty well, so that's
Good.
got that to look forward to. Brown reds hatch around here. You just look at them and they'll hatch. I don't know why, but they're just extremely fertile. Um, Same thing with the blacks and whites, but hatched more than I probably should have, as always. And uh, our weather this year, it's not been very easy, but that's part of the course.
Yeah, it's been pretty warm everywhere. I
Mhm.
mean, your weather's up here. Come get it. It's been drunk for 2 months. It just didn't stay home. It wandered off.
We
Yep.
never have hot and wet. It's always hot and dry.
Yeah.
And this year, I mean, my grass, it's twice a week. And usually by August, I'm not mowing no more. It's usually dead. So this hot and wet thing is different because I
Yeah.
think a couple of weeks ago, I think we had rain every day. It would get real humid and then it would just pour. And then it would get real humid again. The next day it would pour. And not very long, but, pour for a little bit. And that is not good chicken raising weather. They
No.
don't want to eat. They want to drink, and it's just not. Flies are bad. All the bad things associated with hot weather and wet we've had this year. So we don't get foul pox, but I'm sure you guys are going to have a run of it
Oh,
here for long.
Oh yeah, yeah. It comes and goes every year. Mostly, it's typically dry pox. You'll get a spell of wet pox every so many years, and that you got to kind of be careful about because it'll really do some damage. I know several people around here that have had it pretty bad in the last couple of years. I don't know why. What has changed? But it's become more and more wet pox than dry, and that's not that's not something you really want to mess with, because once it starts, there's no stopping it, and it's versus
Yeah,
dry pox. Dry pox, they'll run through it, and most 9 times out of 10 they'll be fine. Wet pox, you're going to lose about 50% of them that get it. At least that's been my experience.
Yeah,
but yeah,
one thing knock on wood, one thing we don't deal with too much. I had brought some birds back for somebody from down south one time, and I never knew what it was. I never had it, didn't know what it was, and it was dry pox. But I had the birds here for a week or so, and I seen it, and then all of a sudden, then everything had it, and I thought, and Neil Grassball was here, and he said that's foul pox. He says pull them off. He goes, and you pull them off, it looks like an octopus. They got little tentacles, those pox, that's what goes in there and infects it. And had it once and then never had it again. But I don't think I would have ever had it if I wouldn't have brought those in.
Yeah, it's typically spread by mosquitoes, but it can be spread. They peck each other.
They say those fall off and then it spreads that way too.
Yeah. But like I said, the dry pox, I've had it, and it just runs its course. Those little wart-looking scabs go away.
They go away. Yep, they fall off, and
you could put some Colgate toothpaste on them, and that'll dry them up. We used to keep a couple tubes of that laying around during the summer months. But something else you mentioned earlier about the bards. This is off subject, but go backwards. The feathering, the hard feathering for barred plumage, and the soft feathering that Cochins have. I worked with a geneticist for about 6 or 7 months. I took a semester off of college to go live in Colorado with Dr. Tom Whiting, who owns Whiting Farms.
I was just going to say, there's your guy for barred.
Yep, genetic hackle. Well, in genetic fly hackle, they call it grizzly. It's not barred; it's grizzly.
Yep.
Right.
It's not really a straight barred. It's
more of the chevron, but it's based on most of the same genetics. That stuff is some of it's stuck, but a lot of it is still floating around somewhere. But basically, we kicked ourselves in the butt when we put them in the standard as barred, because they will genetically never ever be able to hold.
They're not going to be barred like a rock.
No, you'll get some that are, I get some males. The cushions is pretty, it's decent, but it'll never ever be straight. It's impossible. And if it is, they're too narrow feathered to be a Cochin.
Yep. But you have to go back. So both Mike and I have raised barred rocks for a long time over the years, and they're always a battle. So what happens with the barring is you lose the tails.
Yep.
And I don't care whether it's big ones, bantams, the tail feathers get to where they're not a stiff main primary tail feather. They're almost a secondary feather.
Mm-hmm.
And they lose that, and then they get like bunny tails, dump over, and they always got to go back to regular whites to pick that back up. So over the years, like there's been some pretty good, John Miles has some nice barred rock females that I think, carry their type pretty well. Dick Horseman, but they're always battling that thinness of feather. So you really got to watch that stringiness and that. I can remember going to Ralph Sturgeon's house and barred rocks hackles hanging to the ground. Remember those in the tails?
Oh yeah,
they would have that
saddles and yeah, like Alpha Mania was back when we were kids with the
right. And so
Henry Alf's white leghorn, same way.
I don't know whether that gene doubles up or something, but they get that excessive narrow stringy feather, and when it gets narrow and stringy, that barring is just straight across there. And I know my daughter worked with Tom. They went out there a couple summers when she was in Arkansas, and Michael Schlumbum and all them went out there and worked on the farm for a while. And that's amazing what he's done with those. But if you look at those hackles on those birds, they're crazy long too. So
yeah, a foot is the median on those. That's just normal.
Yep. And the money, they make a fortune off those hackles.
Yep. Yeah, same thing that we do, except it's it's lucrative for one, and two, he's taken selection to an extreme because we talk about hatching 50 of each if you can. He's hatching thousands of each, out of every breeding and genetic cross, and has been able to make strides just in of course, he's been doing it for 50 years, 40
Yep.
years still. And the amount of time he's done it, you see the drastic change in the length of hackle.
Well, the advantage they have is they have all the science and the research to go with it, where we kind of do this by word of mouth and, in a lot of prayers normally. And the problem with those genetic gurus in our stuff, they assume this is all pure. And there is nothing in this hobby. I've learned quickly that you can assume it's pure. When you think it's pure, that's when you're in trouble. And I don't care if it's white or black; it's not pure. How many lines of
my
coaching?
heart.
Yeah, your heart is
My heart is pure.
pure evil.
Hey, not pure
But,
evil.
well, maybe a little muddy evil. The whites and blacks, I've over the years, different lines I've found they hide different things. So that's always amazes me. It used to be with Wyandottes, you cross blacks and whites, you got bards or cuckoo. The first generation out, that's what you got. You cross them
Every
black
time.
back, you would get black or white, but that first time it would split out barred. And that's where a lot of the barred Wyandotte lines come from. I just don't know that you can assume anything. You have to test mate it and then go from there. So like with improving those colors you have, you can go to black or white, but you got to do a test mate because you don't know what that black and white's hiding. And you can assume that it's gold or silver, but you don't always know that.
No, and that's a good way to find out is do what you did and like I did with the black and white. You want to see what's behind them. Put those two together. They'll tell you exactly what's behind them.
It's funny because Matt McCammon and I years ago, he wanted partridge so bad, and I had told him. I knew it when we started, but I said, "Well, you got the makings." I said, "Because these models aren't modeled; they're half black, half white." And I said, "The older they get, the whiter they get." So let's take one of those models and put it on partridge, and we did. And he got some very good birds. He got some very good silver pencil birds. But my problem with them was the hackles on the females had a little modeling all the way around the hackle, and I never could get rid of it. And I let somebody have those, and I kicked myself in the butt. But they were, as far as type wise, they were as good a type as the blacks or whites. But on the female side, I could never get rid of that little model spangle. It just went all the way around their hackle, and so that stuck in there. But the type picked up, and after several generations, we had some pretty good birds. But at the end of the day, they're not going to win, and nobody wanted them, and there just wasn't enough demand to keep them going. And that's the problem, I think. And I tell everybody that everyone wants to talk about pattern birds, and they're not good and not popular for a reason because they're a lot of work, and not many people want to do that work. They want to do blacks and whites and win, which is a shame. But I think that's just always been that way. I don't know that it's ever been any different as of like.
Yeah.
No.
Well, that's the difference between the artist and the collector.
Yep, you keep them because you like them. That's why I like the bards. I have them again because I like them. Yep. I made partridge chanticleers because I like them, and not because they probably needed to be remade or they needed the work. That's for sure. But will they ever be competitive? Probably not. I mean, I don't think they can beat the whites, even if they were a lot better than what they are. It's just too many point cuts in those color patterns to compete with the blacks or whites. Although blacks and whites aren't easy either. I don't like to lead anybody into that situation. I mean, they got their own intricacies, in breeding as well. But you don't. Yeah,
$5 word.
Big ass word, and I couldn't hardly spit out. But they have their problems.
Damn.
And we find that out when you raise enough of them. But I'm glad that you keep those colors because otherwise they would just fade away.
Yeah, I guess I'm sentimental that way, but I when I realized when I first got into coaching, I wanted bards. That's what I wanted to start with. I couldn't find them.
Yep,
Steve Garrison.
Yeah,
Steve Garrison, when he was still alive, he had some, but you couldn't get a hold of him. And Scott Adams, I never could get a hold of him, and I've talked to several other people, and it was just always a nowhere road. So I got a hold of Jim Tinsley over in South Carolina. He was good friends with the Garrisons, and he had some, and so I got them from Jim, who got them from Steve. But Yeah, I realized that, and I said, you know what? There's a problem here. Too many of these varieties you cannot find, like Buff Colombians. I'd love to have some Buff Colombians, and that's why I got Colombians again. I had Colombians for a couple
Oh,
of
you
years.
should have asked. We made them. I don't know how many times by accident. I had buff Colombian Chanticleers.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite patterns. Besides the bards, and I just think it's striking, especially on the females.
I don't know. Does Craig Hansen still have any, or is he?
He's got a couple. He's got a couple that he's still messing with, but they're.
I know a guy that can help you. He's got some buffs.
Yeah, I
Oh,
know.
that's going to happen. We've already discussed that. I
Yeah,
said,
I
well,
know a
they'll
guy
be in the
too.
works.
and I'm not so sure that some of our buffs don't carry. I know they carry Colombian, so it's not
No,
going to
I
be
know
a
they
big
do.
stretch. It's just
Yeah, that's.
it seems to me like when that cross pops up, it's not what I would consider a good Colombian. It's a splotchy buff and not really good hackle striping and saddle striping. It's kind of like it's got black shit in its neck and black shit in its saddle, but there's some refinement that would probably need to be going there. But if you got good Colombians, you can do that. That one's not a tough one.
You know the weird thing about Buff Colombian, as much as I've liked Buff and hated Buff for the past 50 years, and as much as I like Colombian, I'm not a big fan of Buff Colombian.
See, I don't
I
like
don't
it
know
in
why.
Colombian.
I don't know. It doesn't do. It's like I know it a really good Colombian because I love that pattern, and I love that white and that black, and then I know Buff because I love the right color Buff, and you put them together, it is like it's not the best of either world. I don't know. I mean, huh?
I said hodgepodge.
But to me, in my mind, I mean, I've handled some really good, Buff Brahmas and everything but it's like, yeah, it's still really. I mean, if that one beat like the light, and it's a good lights, but it's like I still think the light's prettier. The Buff's better, but the light's prettier. I don't know. It's
I
funny how
always
that
like
works.
like the lights better myself too, but
Yep.
I guess I handled enough of Bowman's buff Brahmas that now when I get into those classes of buff Brahmas, I just get sick because one thing that Bill had that nobody seems to be able to keep was that evenness of color. Um, the evenness of the dogs are having a fit up there, but evenness of buff color. And I don't know what the problem is, but even on his males, he had even buff color. He didn't have this 50 shades of buff, 50 shades of gray, but there's 50 shades of buff on some of them. And I the typist kind of went to pot. So yeah, that's a tough color, but I think that one could be done. I think we could live long enough to do that one.
Yeah, I think so. Shouldn't be too big of a problem if I can keep from going crazy. But yeah, I've been trying to get the type consistent across the board, and that seems to be the biggest challenge. Everybody wants to worry about the pattern and what it looks like, and that's the easy part, especially on the brown reds and lemon blues. The lemon blues I have just, like I said, I'll get them really good and they go right back to what they were. I can't figure it out.
I know Ivy, it was a brown red regular blue cross, wasn't it, Mike? She had a pullet one time that did really well, but I think that's how she made it. It was a regular blue over brown red, and it just clicked. Yep. And I don't know that she had like bunches of them, but she had a few of them.
Yeah, the best thing
that was a hell of a hen.
Yeah, the best thing that I've found is putting the brown red males over the splash females, and then taking those back to lemon blue, and that's kept the color somewhat there, and keeping the type that the brown reds have. That's the main goal.
Yeah, that's the goal.
But no, just keeping a consistent type overall.
We talked at the beginning of the show about feather quality, and that's a problem with blue. Blues tend to get. Okay, Tom, I got about 10 minutes. My uncle from my uncle from Florida just showed up, but that's no problem. Blues tend to get that poor feather quality real quick, and when I had them, they get Michael's testify, a square feather. So instead of that rose petal that Roebuck just posted some pictures of his blacks, and they have what I call a rose petal good cushion, but them blues get that square feather where it squares off, and then you start getting the stringiness. And so in the blue jean, I think that is kind of like I always say that silver or self blue carries a real crappy feathering gene.
Yep.
I think some of that's over in the blue too. No doubt in my mind.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I thought it was interesting when y'all talked to Matt McCammon about the coachings and the overall consistency has gotten so. You go down the show aisle and you could have different classes of coachings. So I've worked hard on that with all the different varieties, but it's the blacks and whites set the bars, and then you just go down the list from there. But that's been my biggest hurdle. But yeah, the feather quality, keeping that consistent and keeping it overall somewhat similar style. And then you've got the tweaks of eye color and all that crud.
Yep. It's a continual battle. So, God, you have to. We need to have you listen when we do Dan Castle's record keeping, because I'm sure the record keeping on all those colors has got to be bookkeeping nightmare in itself.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't. I keep enough families that it's enough to breed with, but it's not overwhelming. I can pretty well keep up with things without getting too confused.
Now, that's one of the things we need to talk about on breeding. So everybody tends to make too many matings. I always tell everybody if you can't keep track of what you're doing, then you're got way too many matings. So I only usually do one or two, and I can keep that under wraps. If you get to those years back in the old days when I had 7 or 8, yeah, if you're not a good chick marker and all that husbandry management part of it, you're just making a mess.
Yep. Yeah, my old English mentor, he used to always say, "Oh, that's all a waste of time. You're going to pick the best of the best anyway. Now go on with it."
But they use the shotgun approach, so let's raise 1,000 and keep 50.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't have that. I don't have that much energy anymore to be able to do that. So.
No, I used to beg him to keep up with things a little bit better, but he always thought that was a waste of time. But we all have our own ways. But yeah, no, it gets confusing. But the bards and brown reds and lemon blues, there's only so many of them, so it's really not that big of a deal. Again, the more families you have, the more you got to keep up with. And the large fowl, they're even less because I can only keep so many of those things.
What else you got, Mike? Anything else you want to discuss here?
We're
right about an hour.
Just about an hour. And
how about you, Jack? Did we miss anything? I think we got all your colors. And how do you think? What's the present state of the coaching hobby? What do you think there?
Oh, I think we're doing fairly well. Things are about average. I know in Coaching's International, we just had a board meeting last night, and membership's down, but not any more than it has been in years past. Nothing outside of the average. We're trying some new things, trying to strike some new
behave. I can see it.
Young interest.
Yep. I think the interest is definitely there. Over the years, what I've always said is there's like an 80-20 deal. You got 80% of the membership that's always going to be there. And we have this in the ABA because I tend to I run the wild apricot thing for the ABA. We got a 20% roll. So you got 20% new people coming in and 20% dropping out. And that doesn't seem to vary too much. So our overall total is always the same, but you got these people leaving and going for whatever reasons. Most of them they tried it, they didn't like it, and they're gone. Yep. So we've always tried to be able to retain people, and everything we've tried has never worked. I can tell you that right now. So I think you're always going to have that flux. You're going to have the people that are going to do it, that 80%. You're going to have that 20% that's going to always roll. And Lord knows we try to help everybody just starting out, and usually we try to tell them, stick with 1 or 2 colors. Don't get in there and do like you. Not saying they can't do that, but when you're starting out, you can't go get 8 colors, and then don't go get silver blues and expect to be on champion row and start going hell's a fire. So you got to give them some realistic expectations. I think we got enough material out there for them. If nobody wants to read anymore, but Gail's got the articles up on the website. I think
Yeah,
that
we're trying some new things. We're trying to switch it up. And I'm young and controversial, so we're gonna try some new things.
what's the saying that Jeff told us that he corrected us on? Mike, change is inevitable.
Yep.
But progress isn't.
Progress isn't.
Or
So
something.
Right.
it's all got to change, and it will change eventually. But whether it's successful at it or not is always the issue. I think
Yeah.
Well, you and I got something in common. We're both controversial. I don't have the young part, but I was the same back then.
Well,
So
you need new blood and new faces and new opinions in there. It can get what I call stale. Even APA. You can get the same shit over and over and over, and you're not going nowhere. I think we've had some board changes on the ABA side that's been good. Our board meetings, we go through a lot. They never last more than about an hour, but we get a lot of stuff done, and it's not everything that I wanted. A lot of times, we got to compromise and change and do some different things, try some different things, and that's good. That means you're progressing along down the road.
Yeah, and one.
I'm being good. I can see his face. He's like, boy, he's going to say something that's going to get us kicked off of Spotify.
I was talking with Marty McGuire. I'm going to try to get him to help me get those. I'm going to put him on the spot here. I'm going to try to get him to help me put those in the standard. Start that process over the next couple of years. But yeah, don't do like me and go and collect as much as you can find.
We've all done it.
I've done that over the course of of many years, the last 10 years, but still take your time at it. Don't just overwhelm yourself. I try to tell everybody that, even though I'm young, I've learned from my mistakes in my short time. And that is
you try to do too much, you can get burnout. That's been there, done it. And then what happens? It all goes to the sale, and what you like seems to stay. So
yeah, like 2 years ago was the first time in 10 years I'd had anything but Cochins, and I got some moderns again, but I got everything when I was a teenager except Cochins and focused on that. That was all I wanted.
And really it's good to have something like that because it keeps it from getting boring.
Yeah, but focusing on the Cochins like that really made a difference. That really helped.
It does, but it's good to have another breed, because sometimes you wait all day for that one aisle to get done.
Yep.
Or if it's the first one done, it's like, well, shit. Either it's yay, or it's like, well, shit. It's 10 o'clock. My ass has done been whipped, because you have no other possibilities then. So
it gets to not be fun.
Yeah, and it's according to where you are. Now, if you're there's a good bunch there, well, you get along with everybody about like we are. I mean, you're going to go find something to do, even if it's wrong, but you're going to have a good time doing it. But a lot of people aren't like that. I mean, a lot of people just stay by themselves, and then their birds didn't win, and they can't understand why this is so much fun. Well, the birds winning is fun, but you got to get involved. You just got to talk to people. People walking down your aisle, talk to them.
Yep.
Answer the questions.
Yeah, and as
a
young person, I would say the best thing any other young people can do is, even at the show, like Mike said, if you're showing one thing, that's fine, but go out and talk to the other people, or other exhibitors, different breeds. Really try to put yourself out there, and that's the best thing you can do.
It was like me when I was younger. I wasn't a big waterfowl guy. I like to look at them and whatever, but I enjoyed going back and talking to them guys just because I appreciated what they were doing. Number one, number two, I never had the room to raise waterfowl like they did, and some of the secrets and tips they had are invaluable. Gerald Donnelly, Lou Cunningham, God, I can name millions of them over the years. Curtis Oakes. Daryl Sherraw, Lou Orton, just general overall knowledge of the hobby, and to see how they do it and manage that is and I'd get out. That's it. You're right. Get out of the aisle, get out and talk to people, learn something. Just don't go there, throw them in the coop, put them back in, and run. I think I see too much of that.
Yeah.
That's
And
why
go
I
to
think
dinner.
we met you.
Go to dinner. Somebody invites you to dinner, or you've been talking to them all day long. Invite them to come along or go along, because they're going to hear shit that ain't nothing to do with chickens.
Yep.
But it gives everybody a better understanding of what everybody. You're not alone. Everybody goes through the same shit. It's just how you handle it and how you overcome it and have fun.
Yep.
I think that's how we met you. We wanted to talk about bards in the aisle and was over there for a couple hours. So we get us started, and it's sometimes hard to shut it off.
Yeah, if you're like me, you'll hunt down all the judges at the show that are showing.
Yeah.
That's always a good thing.
You do that.
It's always hard to talk when you're judging. In the back of your head, you got a lot to do and you're trying to get that done and then talk afterwards. But sometimes afterwards it gets to be a blur and you don't get that done. So it is nice to find a judge. And I think that's one thing we're going to change with the apprenticeship program is letting them work with a judge that's not judging at a show. And I think that'll be more valuable to them in the long run. And I even just to go see another breeder of a breed you're not familiar with that you want to learn about, you're going to find some things out that you're not going to learn walking in an aisle clerking. So those are coming.
I've asked Keith Wagner more questions than he probably cares to.
No, I tell you, that's a good man to ask. Now I'm telling you, that's a good man to ask.
You're going to have to ask it because he's probably not going to volunteer it, but not a more. Him and Glenn were good friends, and not a more knowledgeable person in the world.
No, and not a nicer person.
Yes.
No, on a lot of breeds too. Keith's not just he's not a one-trick pony. He can tell you about everything.
Yep. He's great about
pretty good modern crested breeder in the day. Yep. And we was at Dalton. Willie and I were in Dalton there in the fall last year, and he won with a rose comb white leghorn, which is kind of neat because I have those as well and kind of messing with them. But he had a fantastic rose comb white leghorn female that went all the way, and I didn't know it was his till he went up there to got his award. So that's
He's got great japs too. He shows some white japs that make you stand on your head now. I'm telling you, the man's good, and like I say, he's good, folks.
Yes. Yeah, Keith is one of those people help you any way you can, and any question you have, he'll answer to the best of his ability, no matter who you are, what you do. I didn't know him from Adam, and I walked up and introduced myself, and every show now we walk around and talk about
It's not. I shouldn't say this, but when him and Glenn were together, he never could get a word in edgewise. So now Keith can actually say something.
That is true. Absolutely true. Yeah, he's the kind of person. My dad always said, if he tells you it's Easter, just go color the eggs. You ain't got to look at the calendar. Just go color the eggs.
Yep. There you go.
So no, he's a good man. Nope, I think we're good. Listen, Jack, it was really good having you here.
Thanks, guys.
I'm glad, especially on short notice. And it's a good thing that you're one of those entrepreneurs and just able to roll with the flow.
Whatever. I'll take it in strides.
All right. Well, we'll have you back on some other time and see how the progress is.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. And I really like what you guys are doing. It's awesome.
Thank you. Well, we'll try to make you proud, Jack. We'll try to make you proud.
I know y'all got another good year or two at least.
But let's hope so. All right, buddy.
See everybody on Friday.
Oh, listen, wait a minute. Don't click it off yet. Like, subscribe.
Yes.
YouTube, Spotify.
YouTube's jumping up.
And on the Facebook page, share that baby. Yeah, be a hero, man. Sure.
There you go.
All right, guys. Take care. Bye, everybody.